Hey guys, what's going on? This is Josh from Spotted Euros, and as you can see behind me we have our 2005 Volkswagen Touareg V8. Now, with all of the, well, not all, there are two other YouTube channels that recently got one of these Touaregs. Well, guess what? We've owned this for 2.5 years already. I've seen it on my videos, I've seen it on these other channel videos. People always assume that it's so expensive to drive, to own, to maintain one of these Touaregs. So we're gonna go over everything over the 2.5 years that this Touareg has cost me, what it's cost to maintain it, what I've done to it, all that kind of stuff. And then you guys can decide if this thing is really expensive to maintain or if it's kind of just like any other car. To give you some background first, like I said, this is a 2005 Volkswagen Touareg V8. It's got the 4.2 liter V8 engine. As you can see doing the walk around, this Touareg's in pretty good shape. I would say it's in just as good a shape as the other YouTube channels. I would say it's maybe in better, it's probably in better shape than a lot of other Touaregs. The only modification we've done to this is we've upgraded the tire size. These are just the stock rims, 18-inch rims, and then we've got a 32-inch tire on them. Now, this also is equipped with the air suspension. Makes all the difference. In a lot of ways, it's extremely comfortable, it's extremely quiet. If you're going to get one of these V8s, you have to get the air suspension. So for those who are new to the channel, we do a lot of towing. Spotted Euros, we're a used car dealership. We buy and sell cars. So this was our main tow rig for the longest time. For a good 2 years, this is what we towed everything with. And it does great with towing. This thing is really capable. If you really look at what it is, you know, a good size SUV, not too huge. It's got the space. You can have 2 car seats in the back. You can tow with it. You can go off-roading with it. Plenty of power to do a lot of things. So the reason I show you the condition is because someone might claim like, oh, this hasn't cost me anything, or it's cost me very little to maintain. But the car could be not in great shape. So everything's sorted on this. Everything works. Everything is how it should be. And so yeah, that's the condition of the car before we get into kind of the cost of everything. So I mentioned towing videos before. If anyone's interested in more of the towing aspects of this Touareg, we've done a number of videos on towing with the V8 Touareg. So check out some of our other videos. We also recently got a TDI, a 2009 TDI Touareg. So we've done some comparison videos between the two. This is actually getting replaced with the TDI. I got this thing, like I said, about 2.5 years ago. It was April 2017. Now, I had been looking for one of these for a little bit. One popped up at a dealership and I bought it the same day they posted it. That would be nice as a dealer. They listed it for $6,300. That's what I bought it for. And it only had 87,000 miles. So I thought that was a pretty good deal. Even today, I mean, if you could find one of these with 87,000 miles, that's pretty good. So the first year, 2017, we had it obviously from April to December, the remainder of that year. The only thing that this needed that year was an oil change. When I bought the car, soon after I changed the oil, just because you don't know when stuff is done. So that's the only thing that it required. The first year was an oil change. We put plenty of miles on this. We put close to 13,000 miles on this within that first year, and we just registered the car and changed the oil. So that was pretty cheap. We were able to change the oil for $108, and then the registration was about $150, and then also insurance was $414 for that day. So not too bad. Now 2018 was the full year. We had this car for a full year, and we also took this car past the 100,000 mile mark. So that kind of is a milestone for the cars most of the time. So there are a couple of things that we did that may not be typical, depending on the car that you purchase or maybe you're looking at, etc. In January 2018, at 100,000 miles, we did an oil change, and we also did pretty close to that was the timing belt. So because I'm a dealer, I've worked with the shop quite a bit. They work on a lot of my cars, so they were able to help me out and do the job relatively cheaply. I bought a timing kit online for it's about 420 bucks, and then they did the labor for about 500. Now it was the nicer kit, so we replaced all the rollers and everything else, and it was significantly quieter once they did everything, so that was nice, and that was definitely needed. So at 102,000 miles for $942.79, we changed the timing belt. Now we went on a decent sized trip in April of 2018, so that's why some of this stuff is piled up in March. So in March 2018, we also got some new tires for this. Step a set of used tires, used Continental tires that were decent. I got them for like $250 and had them mounted, so that cost $331 to get new used tires. The other thing that month before we left, it was in March 2018, I took this by the dealer and I kind of got suckered. Well, I did and I didn't. So I took it by the dealer for a recall, and then I guess they got me. So $372. They performed the recall, which was free, but then also I noticed there was a vacuum hose that had kind of busted and was loose, so I had them replace that. And then also the alignment, so they checked the alignment, said it was bad. I said go ahead and run the alignment. So just with those couple of things, 300 bucks, that's the last time I'll do that. So $372 for new vacuum hose and an alignment. I think the vacuum hose was a little bit more expensive. Then in April we had the registration that we did. Later on in 2018, halfway through the year, we did the 110,000 mile oil change. Now as you can see, most of the time I change the oil every 10,000 miles. I use full synthetic oil. The reason I do 10,000 miles is because that's what dealers recommend, Volkswagen dealers. Now there are different opinions on that. Some people might say that you should do it sooner than that. Other people might say that's perfectly fine. I've even had BMW dealers, sometimes they even talk about 15,000 miles. It all kind of depends. Now the point of this is not to this is what I do. I'm not saying it's correct. I'm not saying this is exactly what you should do. You might have a different opinion, that's fine, but I'm just showing you what this has cost me. So if you were to change the oil every 5,000 miles, maybe it would cost you a little bit more, and you would have fresher oil in your Touareg. Okay, so like I said, registration, that cost $150. That year we changed the oil at 110,000 miles, $63. I changed the oil myself. I get the oil at Walmart. I order the filter online, so $63 is not bad for an oil change, especially this is a big V8. It takes quite a bit of oil, but it's not too bad when you change it yourself. Now also, one of the things I've done pretty regularly, a couple of times, is change the differential fluid. That's not too bad. 30 bucks for the differential fluid, and changing it out is not too bad at all. Okay, so later on in that year, 2018, in September, we changed the transmission fluid. No real reason. for it other than just maintenance and trying to keep this thing reliable. Now, lame thing is tires again. So later on in that year, like I said, in November, we put new tires, new used tires. So the tires that are on it right now are the tires that I got. So they cost, I bought them used for 400 bucks. They're, you know, they're Falcon all-terrain tires, pretty nice tires, and they've been nice. And then mounted them. So bought and mounted them for $480. Okay, so going on, insurance, once again, just the total for that year is $552. Now, the number, how I'm coming up with that is I just have the liability. So I own this car. I bought it cash. So I just pay the minimum amount. It's like $46 a month. So for a full year, it's 550 bucks to insure this. So like like I said, $46 a year. Okay, so that was 2018. It was the full year. So all of that year was $2,644.07. Okay, moving on to 2019. That's obviously the start of the year until now. So really, there's only been two things that have broken on the Touareg. Everything else has just been maintenance. So that's why I say this is a pretty reliable car. I haven't run into any problems. Everything's worked. It's never left me stranded. It's never been on a tow truck. Knock on fake wood. But except for two things. One thing, the headlight. So I went on a big trip through Portland. It was pouring down rain the whole time. I think the headlight seal somewhere had gone bad. Anyway, it filled up with water, so I had to get a new headlight because the whole thing kind of shorted out on me. So that was $184. I bought it used off of eBay to take care of that problem. Now, the other thing pretty close to that was the blower motor in this Touareg went bad. It was making noise and then it just stopped working, so I replaced that. That was no big deal, 50 bucks on Amazon, and it's worked great ever since. And then we changed the oil around that time. I wasn't sure on the exact date, but at 120,000 miles we changed the oil for, once again, $63.74. And at the same time, we did the differentials once again. We registered the car again in April. And then once again, nothing. It really didn't need anything this year besides the headlight and the blower motor. We've just been changing the oil. So at 130,000 miles, and then 139, so 140,000 miles. We replaced the oil pan and changed the oil at the same time. So the reason we did that is kind of my fault. So I've always changed the oil, and the last time I did it, I stripped out the oil pan, and I don't want to talk about it. But anyway, we had to change that out. So this seat developed a tear in it. It was kind of tore up. So we replaced that as well. That was 90 bucks on eBay to get a new cushion at the bottom, and we replaced that. So that wasn't bad at all. And then to date, the insurance to date on for this year, $368. So not too bad. Okay, so I know that's a lot of numbers, and I hope you're still with me here to figure out the totals. But let's go through the different years and the cost of everything. So the first year just cost $522.34. 2018, $2,600.44. $644.07, and then this year $1,303. So for a grand total of maintaining this Touareg to its current state has been just over $4,000. So for 2.5 years, $4,000. Now this is what's interesting. So it's like 28 months that I've owned this. So if you break the cost down to monthly cost, you're looking at $144.84 a month. Now, I own this car outright, and I was pretty happy to see that low of a number, because if you were to try and get something that was new or something similar to this that you had a car loan on, you'd be paying quite a bit more than that. So $144 to maintain, and that includes insurance, that includes registration and everything else. Now, the other thing that is important to note is the mileage. We've put about 52,000 miles on this Touareg in just 2.5 years. So that's quite a bit of mileage. That is definitely above average. So I thought an interesting metric is if you broke the cost down per mile. So how much did this car cost per mile? And it actually comes to 7 cents, 0.078 cents per mile, which is definitely pretty low. 7 cents per mile is a pretty good number. Now, if you factor in everything, if you factor in the cost of the car, as well as all the maintenance over this 2.5 years that I've owned this, it's been a total cost of $10,355.41 over the course of 2.5 years. Once again, is not too bad. We've definitely done plenty with this, and so to be able to use this and to have so much utility and access and etc. So if you were to say, okay, I sold this car for $5,850, then the total cost of me owning this car for 2.5 years would be about $4,500. Now, once again, if you were to break that down into a monthly amount, it would be $160 a month it costs me to own and drive this car, and then the per mileage just goes up 1 cent basically, so a 0.087 cents. But yeah, anyway, so that's what it's cost me. Now, like I said, you can decide if that's a lot or not. Honestly, I don't have a lot of point of reference because I don't keep cars very long. I'm always buying and selling stuff, so this is the longest I've kept a car. And if you're saying, you know, monthly $140 a month, I'd say that's pretty cheap. If you look at really what this, you know, repairs on this, you're talking a headlight and a blower motor, an oil pan, which was my fault, so that wouldn't even be everybody. Also, if you had you know, if you bought one of these and the time belt's already been done, then that's not an expense. Also, a transmission service, that doesn't really need to get done all that often either. So if we were to kind of take away some of the bigger expenses that maybe aren't so, you know, maybe universal across the board, then this would be even quite a bit less. These other channels that have bought these, I mean, this is my experience. Now, others might have better experiences, they may have worse experiences. It just depends. I would say this has been definitely a really good car, and I loved it. I've loved everything about it. I've towed so much. This has been so much fun for my family and for the dealership. Just being able to pull trailers around, travel trailers, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's it, guys. Tell me what you think. Let me know if you think this is crazy, if this is way too expensive. But I would say, show me a car. Show me the car with this utility that's able to cost or have a cheaper ownership cost than this would be. So anyway, thanks guys, thanks for watching.